On a video on his Twitter account, the Reverend Calvin Robinson has just exposed GB News. GB News, as we know, and as I hope all of you keep up to date with the Laurence Fox scandal, GB News claims that it's the home of free speech when in reality it's anything but. It threw Laurence Fox under the bus for his comments about Ava Evans. But this isn't the first time. During lockdown, they threw Mark Steyn under the bus for talking about the jab and just suggesting that this really rushed out cure wasn't actually going to cure COVID. And COVID, is a disease that has a 99% survival rate. And in reality, we should have just kept the country, open instead of locking it all down. And Steyn said this on GB News and they fired him. Because Ofcom, they're all lefty. The Ofcom are just so full of wokeness. And he also revealed that in GB News, there are a lot of ex-Line News and BBC staff there who were pretty woke. And there are pretty woke people inside GB News. And there are lots of lefties inside of it. And, Calvin and some other people were really the only, right-wingers. And it's kind of like a civil war going on. And he also revealed how one of the funders for GB News wanted to buy the Daily Telegraph, wants to branch out. And so, GB News are preparing to go fully woke, fully mainstream, because that's what they want. Because if GB News really was the home of free speech, there would be, this rebellious, news site like InfoWars, a news site that actually tells the truth. But instead, they tell mainstream lies. Instead, they grovel and kneel to wokies and lefties. And now they want to become more mainstream, which means they'll be just spewing out every other narrative. Already they're recruiting left-wing people to make up for their sins of basically calling Ava Evans, a feminist who no one would want to sleep with. But in my words, I would have called her something like a bitch or a loudmouth bitch who's just plain evil for wanting men to die and thinking that it's okay for men to be scared of women. Yes, but of course, Calvin, when he worked for GB News, was repeatedly, told he couldn't talk about this or that subject, and, he had a common sense crusade thing, but since, the mainstream media left, they hate Christianity. And Calvin, being an Anglican priest, he was attacked from within GB News as well as outside. And, he was made to have a drag queen on his show, which, he liked, because, GB News had open, honest debates, which was good, but at the same time, they did it to kind of, show solidarity and to basically say to all these drag queens that, we support you. And that drag queen that Calvin had on his show literally said that it's okay to strip in front of children. And we all know drag queens, stripping in front of children and telling children they can be whatever gender was completely wrong. It's completely wrong, but of course, Calvin being a Christian, because the left, it's pretty much open season of Christianity all the time in Britain, a supposedly Judeo-Christian country, whilst other religions like Islam are not vilified, even though they clearly deserve to be vilified. What Islam has done ever since it started deserves to be told and deserves to be vilified for what it really is, but yes. But Robinson now had blown open GB News, as well as some other people. And, he's very brave. He's very brave. He's determined not to be shut down. He's a very brave man. He also revealed that during the famous interview with Laurence Fox on the Dan Wootton show, There was a lefty, they were like sitting on a panel, like backstage. There was a lefty who was friends with Ava on there, and when she heard, Lawrence saying no one want to shag that, she immediately whipped out her phone and texted Ava. So Ava didn't watch it because who watches live TV anymore? But see, GB News literally have lefties inside the organisation. They're not the home of free speech. They're controlled opposition. If they really were, the home of free speech, the home of the truth, then there would be more like actual truth websites, that tell the truth and are demonized for telling the truth, such as InfoWars, as I mentioned earlier. They were demonized during the Trump election as a fake news website for basically saying that Hillary was a corrupt sellout and that she and her groveling gang of university woketards were basically going to turn America into a shithole, and Trump managed to stop that until he was voted out during the 2020 elections, and a stumbling bastard we know as Biden was put in. Yes. But yes, Calvin Robinson has now blown GB News out the water and revealed it for what it is, which is controlled opposition. It won't be long until GB News is just like every other mainstream media website, spewing the same mainstream media nonsense, the same arguments, the same everything, because that is what the lefties want. They want every news channel to spew their message, because they want control over everything. Control over news, control over social media, control over the church, control over everything. Everything must be under wokeist control, otherwise they will not be able to spread their message. Go on about how this group of people are oppressed, or how that group of people are oppressed, or how that group of people are oppressed, and spew this endless I'm oppressed narrative, this endless communist garbage, endlessly. But with brave men like Calvin standing up and at great risk, because he has done all this on his Twitter account at great risk to himself. As, he could be deplatformed, he could lose his Twitter account, he could even be arrested. But he is very, very brave. Very, very brave. Very, very brave, and he's standing up for free speech. He is a real journalist, unlike any of the idiots at GB News, except maybe Neil Oliver. But GB News is controlled opposition. Do not believe it. It's controlled opposition. They do not tell the truth.